Hello friends, and welcome back to another video. Today, we partake of the noble tradition of lying on the internet. A rare disorder that gives you purple eyes and no body hair. A special way to cut chocolate that hacks reality. Conservative fathers, so moved by the homoerotic relationship between Sherlock Holmes and John Watson that they stopped being bigots. Going to Starbucks just to order a warm milk and having new slurs invented for you. Tumblr has tried over the years to convince us that many things are possible. And I would argue, in doing so, created a distinct art form. The Tumblr fake story. My problem is that while I love Tumblr fake stories, I kind of ran out of old, famous Tumblr fake stories to read on the internet years ago. Such is the problem with having a YouTube channel that is heavily reliant on Tumblr content. And you know, the Muppet Joker was giving us some good stuff for a while there, but I killed him, so we go onwards. Today we're gonna see what you guys have got. And yes, if you've been around for a while, you may recall that I did this 3 years ago. I did this almost this exact video concept 3 years ago, but it was a lot of fun and I've been wanting to do it again ever since then. So I said to my Tumblr followers, write me some new Tumblr fake stories. Get freaky with it. I need some new ones. So listen up, Tumblr-piz. I'm gonna learn you a thing. And we're going to study the art of the Tumblr fake story today. But first, do not click away from this sponsor segment if you are a writer or play RPGs or are perhaps some kind of a nerd. This video sponsor, World Anvil, is a world-building, writing, and game mastering desktop software that can help you finally make sense of all of those amazing ideas that you have floating around chaotically in your head. This is genuinely the coolest sponsor that I've had in a while, and all of you creative nerds better be listening. Okay? World Anvil has 25 world-building article templates, and you know, timelines, family trees, all of the basic stuff that you're gonna need to start planning out a world, plus incredible features that I never even would have thought of, like their interactive maps feature, which will turn pre-existing maps into interactive pages, their chronicles feature, which combines custom timelines with maps so that you can plot events across time and space at the same time. It allows you to create wiki-style presentations about your world in writing. There's features for game masters to plan, play, and present their campaigns. World Anvil supports 106 game systems and can even help you plan out your own. For RPG players, there's extensive character management resources, character sheets, journals, inventory, a spell book. And for writers, there's tools to write, world build, and manage your story all in one convenient platform. If you're interested, you can go to worldanvil.com and use coupon code ÆONS for 51% off any yearly membership. That link will be in the description down below for your clicking. Thank you again to World Anvil for sponsoring this video, and now I return you to your regularly scheduled content. Let's just jump into it, shall we? Oh my, is Philip DeFranco still alive? I'm gonna write a Tumblr fake story about how Philip DeFranco has died at the age of 91. Okay, ghosts are real. I once got electrocuted from touching a broken power strip and I could see my body collapsed on the floor holding my phone. So I possessed the phone to try and call for help but couldn't figure out how because the wires were confusing, so I just went back into my body and that worked. Sometimes I still have dreams about being inside technology though, and I think that's why I want to fuck robots. Just robots though, I'm asexual. On my first day of high school, a girl came up to me who was dressed super basic and I thought she would bully me, but she actually started crying and thanked me for making her feel like she could express herself. I was dressed super alternative, black and purple hair with an MCR shirt, and she explained she loved dressing like that but feared other people's opinions. That was 2 years ago. We're dating now. Smiley face. Classic. Simple. Classic. Tumblr fake story original flavor. Is there a time constraint to this? Because I might need to forge some documents. No! Don't do that! We have this person ready to like 5,000% commit to the bit, and then the person directly under is like, got punched by a fish. Hashtag fish punched. Hashtag punched me. It hurt. Goddamn aquatic vertebrates. Prepare to put in the most effort and like the absolute least effort. You know the tubby custard machine? I fucked it. I was at Hot Topic the other day and I saw these two older women browsing the graphic tees. When I got a little closer to them, I noticed one of them had a tattoo of a rose piercing her skin, leaving drops of blood, with a man's profile and some words etched darkly across the stem. Those words being the name, Severus Snape. Could it be? Yes, it was Rose and Tanya, two of the most famous Snape wives. As a fan of internet history, I had to say hi to these two legends. I expressed my adoration for their work as live journalists, at which they cringed. Tanya told me that since the Snape wives imploded, she and Rose had separately done some soul searching. Both of them realized they'd been pretty trad-wifey and icky to some of their fellow wives. Thus, they reformed themselves into dark feminist goths and became friends again. By this point, a crowd had formed as most of the shoppers were captivated by their story. Discovering the true power of friendship opened up their hearts to Snape once again. Tanya and Rosary married him on the astral plane. However, they were concerned about the strain it would put on their respective marriages with their mortal husbands. Severus was so pleased with their concern for inclusivity that he invited their husbands to join the polycule. George and Kevin are now the first Snape husbands. Everyone in the store clapped for them. So anyway, Rose, Tanya, and I bought matching black and purple corsets and split a giant soft pretzel from Auntie Anne's. It was the best day. Hashtag fake story. Shh, it's true in my heart. Actually, someone did slide into my Tumblr messages once and be like, hey, I found out a family friend of mine was like in the Snape wives, and I was like, she what? But apparently this person was a very minor Snape wife who wasn't mentioned in my video. At least I don't think. She wasn't one of the main ones, that's what we know. I'm pretty sure I responded to that ask like, you better not be fucking Tumblr fake storying me right now, this better be true. And I think it was. I think that one was a true story about I found the Snape wives in real life in 2025. This one was also true though. One time I met a guy from Grindr and his whole bedroom was themed after SpongeBob. Like, every single surface was SpongeBob themed. Posters covering the walls, figurines on every shelf, and his desk, his blanket/pillow casings were SpongeBob ones. It was surreal. And on top of it, his boxers were also SpongeBob ones. He still fucked me, but to be honest, it was hard to enjoy with hundreds of SpongeBobs staring at me from every angle. Normally, I'm quite the exhibitionist, but not when it's the funny cartoon sponge. So I briefly flatlined. I got better. But while I was dead, I saw Charon. I didn't know what to say, but he was wearing lace-up Doc Martens, so I said, I like your shoelaces. And then he said, thanks, I stole them from the president. And then I woke up. I think he sent me back because he respects Tumblrinas. So they found out after I was born that an extra foot was growing in my stomach. The doctors really wanted to remove it, but my mom was really against it because it was how God made me or something. My dad was too scared to intervene like the coward he is. So that was the end of that. It hasn't caused me any problems. In fact, from an early age, I learned how to stomp my extra foot against the lining of my stomach to help better digest my food. The only downsides are that I've learned that my restless leg syndrome affects my stomach foot too, because it has a little bit of an ankle. So people are like, oh wow, your baby's really kicking. And I'm like, no, it's my extra foot. And every few weeks I gotta reach down my throat and cut my toenails, otherwise the feeling is just the worst. Hashtag his name is Benjamin. Oh my god, that's the name of someone I know's horrible ex. Ugh. Benjamin, you stomach foot of a man. I work at a fruit fly lab as a tech. When I started this job, I had no regular income and was struggling with making ends meet. Everything I had to eat was some old moldy crackers and some suspicious looking cheese I found on a bench at the park. I was so hungry on my first day of work that when they took out the fly food to teach me how to change their living mediums, the smell of the cornmeal made me salivate. Not being able to control myself, when nobody was looking, I took a bite from the cornmeal. It was so good. It was so nutritious. I couldn't help myself. I ate all the fruit fly food! All of it! When my superior came back, there was no food left for the flies. She was so confused. She asked me, where did the medians went? And for the life of me, Father Strange, don't break the fourth wall, I couldn't tell her, so I said, I don't know. Some guy came here and took it. To which she replied, damn it, John, and left again to yell with a random man in the corridor. He was fired. I got the job and went home and prayed to the Lord for forgiveness and promised never to speak of it again. Still sometimes take a little sip from the tubes. Best work snack ever. This sounds fake as fuck, but it's actually legit real. When my gran was born in the 1930s, her dad, who was famously an asshole and wanted a boy, put male on her birth certificate when she was born, just to be a dick. Anyway, that's how my gran was a perisex, assigned male at birth cis woman. She also smoked like a chimney her whole life. She started at the age of 8, and I honestly never saw her drink any liquid but Coca-Cola. She asked her young grandkids to refer to her in public as the wicked bitch of the West. She had 6 rescued dogs that she did not seek out on purpose, lived on Social Security, and slept with a 9mm pistol under her pillow. She finally died at the age of 84 of dementia because death was too much of a wuss to take her head on. God, I wish literally any of that was actually fake. Rest in piss, you old bitch. No! We want fake stories only. Fake stories. Okay, unless that's part of the... no, I believe this woman was real. We let a true one slip through the cracks. Fuck. Only fake stories. I mean completely true stories from here on out. Once, while I was sitting waiting for my car to pick me up from school, I was working on some fanfic, and this bully named Plebus saw that I was typing and went, haha dweeb, what are you texting your mom? And I rolled my eyes and just ignored him. But this time he kept trying to push my buttons. What, do you not have any friends? Plebus has so many more friends. I was about on my last straw, so I responded, "I'm actually writing a story for your information." And then he laughed again and snatched my phone out of my hand and read the entire chapter I was writing out loud. This fic happened to be a really sad and angsty story, and by the end, he was tearing up. And when he stopped, everyone clapped, and my English teacher was listening too and was crying. Just then, my mom pulled up, and I took back my phone and walked back to my car, leaving everyone crying. LOL. Never mess with fanfic writers. I'm vegan, and my evil uncle made me eat human flesh like a real cannibal. Story time! So my cousin's still in the freezer because my aunt's a freak about it. I don't know. She's into taxidermy and she's not handling the death well. Whatevs. My point. My uncle technically has access to human flesh. Not that I had thought about it that way, because what the fuck, Dave? I went over there for lunch because my mom's always making me. My aunt cries a lot since my cousin died, and she thinks aunt needs company. Like, yeah, Mom, I'm sure seeing the kid who survived the accident when her kid didn't is so great for her grief migraines. Bitch, I think that's why my uncle hates me so much. But also, he was evil before Benny died, threw darts at my cat, is racist about French Canadians, named his third kid Horseradish, we call her Ray. My aunt was whacked out by morphine or heroin or something, so Uncle did the birth certificate. She was so mad, but apparently it's too much work to change, so fuck him. Anyways, he swore up and down that it was mushroom meat, and it was in a sandwich with mayonnaise, the vegan kind, fucking duh, and lettuce, and one singular tomato slice. So it wasn't the only taste or anything. Afterwards, he goes, "Ha! I knew you were a fake vegan." Me. The fuck? Evil uncle, that was meat! Meat in your mouth and gullet and stomach! I start gagging, obviously. Some poor pig or cow or goat with big, pretty, all-pupil doe eyes died for this awful, evil, wicked prank. I ran out of the house and across the street to my commune, and I got my dad and all of his totally progressive biker friends to beat my uncle so bad he ended up in my aunt's freezer too. Karma, bitch. Anyway, that was super fucked up, but it's almost better that way if you really think about it. Like, eating Benny didn't contribute to factory farming. Small mercies, eh? Almost forgot. He told me the sandwich was Benny by showing me the missing liver, and it was so gross. Aunt was probably so pissed. What? Back during my days at Creative Uniqueness and Natural Talent, a RuPaul-themed union advocacy group, down in my birthlands of Memphis, there were a lot of kooky people that came through. I remember the first day that I joined up, a woman wearing a black leather dog face covered in punk spikes who went by the name Mad Bitch gave me a tour of the place. Given the area we were operating in, we knew that the forces of the enemy would be watching and listening. That's why we were never allowed conversation within view of any window. In fact, by the time I left Creative Uniqueness and Natural Talent, a RuPaul-themed union advocacy group down in my birthlands of Memphis, we had smashed out all of the windows and brick and mortared up every window in the old building. Mad Bitch showed me a lot of stuff during my first few weeks, before she had to go to Nashville to treat her early-stage rabies. She taught me which pipes you could drink from, and which ones were lead pipes. She said only she was allowed to drink the lead water. Joke's on her, I found the asbestos hole and never shared. Anyways, Creative Uniqueness and Natural Talent, a RuPaul-themed union advocacy group down in my birthlands of Memphis' first big move after I joined was to protest outside a local farm that had sold out to Walmart, so the enemy could begin pumping their filth and rot into our neighborhoods. Our operations were planned by some old guy named Gregory. He served in Desert Storm and liked to call everything he did an operation, so we'd go on food acquisition operations, funding operations, Wendy's pick-two meal deal operations. I remember he was forced to leave because he started getting really into metaphysics and esoterica. He told me he learned the secrets of omniscience from Arby himself out in the back of the half-built Arby's that was killed midway through development because the franchise didn't bother to consult the town zoning boards and was building it in the armpit of an urban freeway overpass. Gregory also learned to send people to the moose dimension after a drug binge out in the back of Denny's at 6 in the evening. Me personally, I think he'd just been watching the Invader Zim VHS tapes in the basement while he was pre-gaming his Denny's binge. I had to drive the Creative Uniqueness and Natural Talent, a RuPaul-themed union advocacy group down in my birthplace of Memphis. It gets harder every time. It gets harder to read it every time. I had to drive the Creative Uniqueness and Natural Talent, a RuPaul-themed union advocacy group down in my birthlands of Memphis team van to pick him up before the cops came. He ended up getting caught by the VA and hauled off to a care facility in Oklahoma. I know he's a Mormon life coach now, still calls everything an operation though. Operation Christly Mission, etc. Last thing I remember was the time our leader, an absolute glorious woman who preferred to be called a transvestite. She was like 60-something years old and said it was a badge of honor for her to wear the scars borne by the whips of bigots to show them in no uncertain terms that not only was she out, but she was proud and never going to submit. Karen brought me and a couple of the creative uniqueness and natural talent, a RuPaul-themed union advocacy group down in my birthlands of Memphis, people out to some land developer who she'd catfished on a phone sex hotline. We ended up beating the fucking brakes off of him and left his ass looking like a union-mandated 7 a.m. 2,000-calorie chopped cheese. He ended up joining up because I guess he fell in love with Karen after she hit him with the Super Smash Bros. Bowser butt bomb attack. I gave it that name after seeing her use it for the first time asserting dominance over Mad Bitch. Anyways, Karen died of a heart attack, then everyone went their separate ways after that. I still keep in touch with Gregory via Operation United States Postal Service, but I haven't heard anything about Mad Bitch since the rabies arc. Let me know if you'd like to hear more about creativity, uniqueness, and natural talent, a RuPaul-themed union advocacy group down in my birthlands of Memphis. No, I don't want to know anything else. I want to hear nothing about this ever again. I wish I didn't know about this completely true story. So I'm allergic to strawberries, right? Like, highly allergic. But one day in high school, this feminine guy had a strawberry drink, and some other kids were making fun of him for it. Being 6'2" at 16 years old and on the football team, I go over to his desk and grab the drink. I chug the rest of it. I turn to the bullies and say, "We're all going to the hospital," and then beat the shit out of them. Like 10 minutes after I drink it and have beaten them all up, I start having severe reactions, and you guessed it, taken to the hospital. Anyway, that's how I met my husband of 12 years. A 100% true story from when I was in high school, circa 2008. So there was this boy in my biology class who was telling us about how his older brother who was in college told him that the newest craze in street drugs was, I shit you not, Doritos dust. Like the actual dust and crumbs from the bottom of a chip bag. We told him he was full of shit, and that his brother was definitely just fucking with him. But he insisted that Dorito dust would get you high. Fast forward to lunch, dude apparently bought a bag of Doritos from the vending machine in the cafeteria and decided to test his hypothesis. Lines it up on the lunch table and snorts it. Oh my god, new cursed Tumblr recipe to try in a video. He immediately starts freaking out, acting high and crying that his heart was gonna beat out of his chest. Next thing we know, he drops dead. He actually lived, but not until after a long ICU stay, some newly diagnosed cardiac issues, and becoming a legend in my high school. So, moral of the story, don't snort Doritos, kids. Just found out that chimpanzees have recently been noted by researchers to be developing their own spoken language, possibly similar to early humans. My cousin, who is a primate researcher and recently took a trip to Uganda to analyze this, said that this extends as far as giving complicated orders, noting irregularities in food, and even correcting each other for bad behavior. Apparently, this extends to their interactions with humans, as acts of homophobia have been noted to cause aggression, bordering on actual yelling from the chimps. It's crazy how literal primates are more progressive than some people in the modern world. Oh my god, okay, this would have got some people on old Tumblr. It's the little tidbit that, like, the chimps are calling out homophobia at the end. That's a really special, genius little tidbit there that I think actually would have got some people back in the day. When my sister and I were really little, my mom would joke about how if we misbehaved, she would send us to live with the attic child. In the family lore, he was my parents' first kid who was so shitty they put him in the attic permanently as a punishment. She'd point at the trapdoor in my sister's closet and say, "See, if you're not good, you'll end up there." But it was never in a way that was that serious. We would joke about him causing various problems around the house as the years went on, you know, normal family in-jokes. Last year, in preparation to sell the house, my parents had it professionally evaluated. The guy went up to the attic and found a complete human skeleton. We did not put it there. We are the only people who have ever owned this house. So yeah, that's how I found out my cousin, who lived with us after getting kicked out from my uncle's place, was in a body trafficking ring. Cool! OMG, okay, Tumbly Pose. Let me do you a heckin' learn about the time this teenage cretin picked a fight with me in public. Allow me to set the stage. There I was, minding my own business in the dairy aisle of my local Kroger, like Tesco, but for muggles. Just trying to stock up on Burt's Every Flavor probiotic yogurt when, to my shock and discomfort, a rapscallion no older than 16 or 17 dressed in Aeropostale pushed past me with her cart, bumping into me, causing me to stumble and scatter my yummy little yo plates across the aisle. "Watch where you're going, you old hag," the rude child sneered, her mom too busy on her phone to even notice the assault I was just subjected to. Though taken aback, I kept my cool. "Old hag? I am but 37 years old, likely only as old as your mother there," I reported, stopping her in her tracks. "Would you treat your mother so uncouthly?" Though she appeared stunned at first, her eyes widened at seeing the black Snape and Harry? the black snary tee I was wearing before grinning devilishly. The youth spat. Ew, gross. A snary shipper? That's practically incest, you know. Dreary is much more popular. Get over it, you gross hag. She then turned to her mother whining, Mom, this old lady's being a weird to me. Make her stop. The little brat. Her mom, oblivious to what the diminutive Dementor had said, put down her phone just long enough to whip around to me and say, Excuse me, get away from my daughter. I ought to call the police. Before she could go further, an employee came running over to us telling her, Ma'am, please calm down. I was stocking shelves when I noticed the exchange, and it seemed that your daughter had instigated it. She was incensed at this, yelling, My precious daughter would never lie like that. I demand to speak to your manager. At this, the employee seemed to grin, keeping cool in his own right and clearly knowing he had the upper hand. He tapped his name tag, which said his name, and below it, manager. Speaking as if he had been waiting his whole life for this, he smirked, saying, Ma'am, I am the manager. And if you continue to harass our customers, I may ask you to leave. At this, the woman was aghast, sputtering for a moment before she could regroup and counterattack. Other shoppers who had noticed the kerfuffle approached us, saying, It's true. That kid started it. I saw the whole thing, and you should be ashamed of your daughter's behavior. After a minute of this, the woman and her daughter stormed off, leaving their cart behind. The manager, giving me an apologetic smile, said, I'm sorry about all that. Here, the yogurt you dropped, placing my Berts into my cart. He got a little closer to me and whispered, I couldn't let a fellow snary shipper get accosted like that. No, I'm sorry, he whispered, I couldn't let a fellow snary shipper get accosted like that. He pulled open the top of his vest to reveal his own snary shirt. By the way, he continued, we've been looking for a way to advertise our store's unique yogurt flavor, Harry Berry, local to this area. It's not lucrative, but would you consider being our local spokesperson? We could use someone upstanding like you to promote our brand, and besides, it comes with a year's supply. What do you say? I replied, I appreciate your offer, good sir, but I am afraid that all of my free time must be devoted to spreading the good word. I gave him a wink, if you catch my drift. He smiled understandingly. Well, ma'am, at least let me give you this, and handed me a 50% Yoplait coupon, which I readily accepted. And this is what happens, dear readers, when you stand up for what's right and true. There are more of us out there than you think. Keep fighting the good fight against the dreary naysayers out there. Wow, that is so inspiring. Reminds me of the time my uncle who worked for Nintendo asked me why I wore a dog collar at dinner with extended family. I panicked and said it was because I was a good boy for the Lord, TM. Turned out that the grandparents told the pastor before service next Sunday, who was inspired by my devotion and asked the congregation to applaud me. Everybody clapped. I mercifully died soon after from choking on a stale donut hole that had been forgotten under a pew. I tried to swallow without chewing since that's not allowed in our sect. Modifying your food is a sin, obvi. Saw the pearly gates for a split second before EMS revived me. St. Peter was also wearing a dog collar. I'm no longer Christian, as I know I can't compete with that. Once I was excommunicated, my parents sold me to Insane Clown Posse as their indentured Fago servant. It's been a while since I was able to feel the sun on my skin without grease paint in the way, as a Juggalo initiate, but at least I know I'm safe as long as I keep the soda in stock. Make sure to let YouTubers in the area know there's gangs of clowns competing for who hits the most civilians with pies. I wouldn't want my favorite vegan antique restoration channel to be delayed from slapstick-related injuries. Okay, so you won't believe this, but I swear it's true. I have this really deep connection to bees since I was a child, and I think I can sometimes communicate with them. So this one time I was at a coffee shop, and the guy in the line in front of me looks super gay and stuff, you know, all colored hair, lots of piercings, and this older man comes up to him and says some stuff about the good old days when you could beat up punks like him without consequences. I got really angry at this, but was too shy to step in. Some bees in the area must have felt this, because the next thing I know, there is a swarm of bees coming after this man and chasing him out of the shop. The guy in front of me cheers and turns to me as if he knew it was my doing and thanks me. Everyone in the coffee shop clapped. OMG tumbly poos, I need to tell y'all a thing. So, I was sitting at the lunch table with my friends, judging the peasants from the other tables, when I got a text from an unknown number. Unknown number. Misha, I have feelings for you. I know that you feel shame. I was just too blind to see it. I love you. Please text me back. J.A. At this point, I was freaking the heck out, and my friends were all gathered around my phone. I texted back, OMG, is this Jensen Ackles? Unknown number. No. Why would you think that? LOL? Me. You totally heckin' are. You and Misha are really in love? Unknown number. Okay, it's true. But you can't tell anyone. What can I do to buy your silence? Me. Send me the original finale of season 15 and I won't tell anyone. Unknown number. Okay, fine. You promise you won't post it online on Tumblr? At this point, me and my friends were squeeing that Jensen remembers all of us on Tumblr. Me. I promise. A few minutes later, a video file was sent, and everyone at the lunch table gasped. Dean and Castiel confessed their love for each other before a 15-minute uninterrupted sex scene between the two of them played out. It was so hot, but I can't share it or I'll probably get sued, lol. Anyway, they had gay missionary sex without making eye contact once. A meteor sent from God Supernatural, because he's homophobic, killed both of them instantly, and they went to super hell together. It was so romantic. I was crying by the end. It was clearly the true ending to the show. And I knew I had to share it with you, even if it meant breaking my promise to Jensen. I don't even care if the CW firebombs my house for this. The truth needs to be told. I don't know, OP, but we must go to the same school, because the other day I definitely heard one of the cringe table kids scream super loud in the caf about a text from the sky. I just brushed it off until they pulled out their Chromebook to watch what absolutely sounded like porn of him. OMG, you guys will never believe what just happened to me, but I swear, it's real. No need to be defensive, I believe you. So I was minding my own business, taking a walk to Tim Hortons, the really inaccessible one by the University of Toronto. I'm from Toronto, if you couldn't tell. With my mom, when I saw strange eons in the distance. About to walk down the stairs to go to the Tim Hortons. I don't know, I'm starting to doubt that this is true. Sorry, I just don't know if that would happen. What if it's just someone who looks like Strange? No. I've watched enough about DashCon 2 to know what she looks like. Now, my mom is really strict, no nonsense, only watches documentaries kind of mom. She's always in her office at her computer and reading philosophy and science and stuff. I've never even told her I have a Tumblr before, but I have to talk to Strange about what happened at DashCon. So I say, OMG mom, I think that's strange eons. And my mom goes, where? I point down the stairs and suddenly she starts running, faster than I have ever seen her move in my life, and she leaps down the entire flight of stairs at once, landing in a perfect roll, yelling, Strange, I demand a rematch! And Strange immediately runs to the Tim Hortons escape, so my mom runs after her, and I run after the two of them. When the door opens, I see one of the Tim Hortons employees give my mom, who has jumped on the counter, a broom, and Strange has grabbed a chair and is holding it in front of her ready to fight. Strange, who are you? What are you even talking about? My mom, do you not recognize me without my mopping mask on? I'm not making this up. The entire Tim Hortons gasps. Strange, no, I cannot beat you again. I barely beat you the first time. My mom, aka the Muppet Joker? Ha! Just as I thought, you're too cowardly to face me. You are less than a man and a Muppet. I win by default. And then everyone except Strange starts clapping and cheering. Everyone crowded my mom to ask for autographs, asking how she survived when there was a funeral and everything. We both got super overwhelmed, so she grabbed me and sprinted out of the building faster than anyone in there could keep up. So my mom is apparently the Muppet Joker, and she has Tumblr. She answered all my questions, but she told me I would get grounded if I told anyone, so I can't tell you guys anything. But I know. Oh my god, you will never believe the day I had today. So I work at a combination KFC, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, and suddenly this couple walked in that I swear I saw before. Their outfits were wild. She had on an onyx miniskirt with hell written in crimson letters on the back, scarlet leggings, charcoal thigh-high boots, and a jet corset. Her skin was eggshell, and her hair was long and midnight, with the tips dyed a deep lavender. He was in a three-piece suit, all deep ink in color with similar alabaster skin and barely colored hair, slick back. Hi, can we have 2 fiery steak burritos and 2 cups of blood to drink? She sighed. I paused. Did you say blood? I gasped in shock. Yes, make them larges. She blinked. She tossed her hair back and laughed gothly, exposing pearl fangs. Suddenly, my manager Brittany came from behind me. You! She screamed, her platinum hair standing on end. I thought I told you never to come here again! The woman blinked in a mad way and got in Brittany's face. You don't tell me what to do, she roared before extending her middle finger up. A ball of emerald energy came from it and shot Brittany. Brittany deflected the blast, leaving a smoking crater on the side of the wall. I banish you! I watched the women have a wizard duel right in front of me while going back and making their order of fiery steak burritos. I looked back at her boyfriend, who grimaced sexily. Grimaced sexily at me. I finished up the order and brought it to the front, just in time for Brittany to shoot an aqua-colored bolt of lightning straight at the woman's chest. No! She screamed, cursing Brittany. Hey, Brittany, do we have any blood? Brittany looked at me confused. Oh, you're new, I forgot, she sighed. Give them 2 red Fantas. The woman still screamed from the corner of the restaurant. That will be $12.67, I sighed. The man in the licorice-colored suit pulled out a $20 bill. I got his change, and he collected his girlfriend off the floor. I watched them with my orbs go to their car, an all-Venta dark Ferrari with a license plate that said 666. They drove away, as I was ordered by my manager to help clean up from their wizard battle. And that's how I finished my first week working at a fast food restaurant. Oh my god, that was her. That was 36-year-old Ebony. How old would Ebony be by now? How old is Ebony Darkness Dementia Rate? Okay, calculator. My Immortal came out in 2006, and she's 17. So she's born in 1989. So in 2025, 36-year-old Ebony Darkness Dementia Ravenwhite. Oh my god. I stole a ferret. Now you might say, why would you steal a ferret? Yeah, I might ask that. There's 2 pet stores down the street, and both sell nice, affordable ferrets. And I would have gotten one from a more reasonable seller, except Pet Store A had one employee I hated. This particular employee had done no slight to me besides rudely disliking my sunglasses, which I didn't like them either, but you can't insult such a daring chartreuse sunglass, even if they are ugly. Anyway, this was enough to make it impossible for me to purchase my ferret. Pet Store B was regular chain pet store. Unfortunately, due to my traumatic backstory, once taken to a pet intelligence store and watched my mother bought fish after fish with no hopes of being able to fit them in our family fish tank. There were no bowls in my house without a goldfish or 2. And the betas. Why didn't she know they couldn't share a space? I don't know. But what I do know is that I couldn't drink water from anything but my hands for weeks. If you opened a cupboard, you would just see blank-eyed, angry fish staring at you from the cup you wanted to grab. Anyways, so can't go to Pet Store B. You might ask, why not go to another pet store, perhaps? One more than 5 minutes from your child at home, or go to a breeder, or... These are rude questions. Suffice to say, none of these options were an option. Cut to me, after weeks of fruitless searching, finally happening on an innocent backyard ferret. Now, I don't know much about ferrets, but I liked the cut of this one's jib. Also the extra toe on the back left foot. Anyway, I saw her and knew it was meant to be. My attack was planned, premeditated. I circled around the house 5 times a day for 3 days, took a break for 2 days, and then repeat. Now the fine ferret owners had unfortunately noticed my presence. I made up some lie about easily getting lost and being very bad at reading maps and my GPS being very faulty. I even think they believed it the first time. By the end of the month, I could see whatever belief they might have had in my story had faded, just as much as the siding on their house had. They had placed barbed wire along the fence, had at least 2 security cameras guarding the house, and had gotten a dog. They thought I was gonna rob them, which, yes, I was, but still, you shouldn't make assumptions. But they had made one fatal flaw, you see. These people owned a large piece of property, almost a farm if a farm sucked and only yielded mosquitoes. There were multiple fenced sections, far from where any house security cameras could see, and the barbed wire surrounded their car lot. The ferret was mine for the taking. So while these people viciously guarded anything they thought could be of value, they lost the one thing they held most dear, or should have. Their ferret. So anyway, it's been a few years since the ferret died, and it was the best pipe cleaner I've ever had. Might have to go get a new one. Okay, get this. When I was 14 years old, I was really poor and lived in the tornado rubble in our city, and I was bullied heavily in class. Sometimes the kids would pour soup and milk and ice cream all over my head because I was so lactose intolerant and would break out into hives and twitch on the floor every time, and they thought it was really funny. When I told my mom, when she wasn't working her 100-hour work week, she told me they actually probably hated me because I wasted my forest green eyes, pale yet perfectly flushed skin, and voice of 1,000 in-tune angels on being a bisexual quirky emo boy. Anyway, one day I had enough because they put cheese sticks up my nose and washed my eyes with milk and actually dunked me in a vat of heavy cream, and they almost killed me. They left me with a permanent scar spanning from the top left side of my face to the bottom right side, and turned my hair permanently white and silky smooth. Smoother than it was before. It was pretty smooth. I felt like my whole life was over, and I went to my broken-ass shed and found an old sickle, and found my bullies, and I actually kidnapped them and killed them, and dumped them into our local milk factory, and I ran away into the woods since my mom didn't even love me anyway. Eventually, when I tried to fall asleep on the forest floor, I heard a voice from behind me say, "What do you think you're doing trying to sleep on the forest floor, you weirdo?" And I turned around and saw the most beautiful boy I've ever laid eyes on. He has pure white skin, long jet black hair, burned eyelids, and carved out bloody smile, and introduced himself as Jeff. Apparently, there was a big mansion for people like me in the woods. Oh my god, it's a creepypasta! Where the broken, the beaten, and even the damned could rest their uneasy heads and live among those who understood their pain and anger towards society. Needless to say, I followed him. It's owned by this tall man with no face, and we just call him Slendy, since it makes him so mad, lol. Now me and Jeff are partners in crime, and kill our enemies together. And even his dog kills with us too. And we are so in love, and I live with more people who are freaks, just like me. Hashtag like 70% of this is accurate. accurate to real life. Hashtag actually all of it is, I still live here. Hashtag Yowie. This one is special because it wasn't written for this video, for my post that I made. Someone slid into the comments and was like, oh, hey, I wrote this post recently, linked me to it. So this Tumblr fake story was made not for me, but purely for the sport of it a couple of months ago. And I actually saw this on my dash. I think it got relatively popular. How many notes does this have? Without further ado, the Puzzle Club story. Day 1 at the Communal Puzzle Club. I see a puzzle with a sign next to it that says, please help with our communal puzzle. And I say to myself, don't mind if I do, and did the whole thing. Day 2 at the Communal Puzzle Club. I get gently reprimanded for not sharing the puzzle experience with the others. In my defense, I thought they all needed help they couldn't get. Day 3 at the Communal Puzzle Club. We start a new puzzle, and I put one of the pieces in my pocket and save it for later so I can be the one who puts in the last piece. Day 4 at the Communal Puzzle Club. The puzzle is almost complete, so I reach into my pocket and realize I left the piece in my other pants, which are currently in the washing machine. I feign ignorance. Day 5 at the Communal Puzzle Club. The others are suspicious, but they have no proof. They check my pockets before I leave, but little do they know that this time I ate the pieces. Day 6 at the Communal Puzzle Club. I put an entire bottle of Miralax in my coffee to get the pieces out of my digestive system, but they are far too dissolved to be usable. My stomach is in so much pain and I can't stop shitting. But I rinse off what's left of the pieces and make it to Puzzle Club anyway, only to find out they don't meet on Mondays. I am inconsolable. Day 7. At the Communal Puzzle Club. I realize those puzzles are incriminating evidence, so I slip them into someone else's pockets. It should be good as long as they don't find residual traces of my DNA. Day 8. At the Communal Puzzle Club. There was an odd feeling in my gut. I feel as if something has been awoken in me. Day 9. At the Communal Puzzle Club. I am in such deep focus that the others are starting to fear me. Either that, or they are cowering away from the communal puzzle out of sheer respect for my skills. Day 10 at the Communal Puzzle Club. I am getting better and better. I can now do several puzzles in one day. The others are discussing what to do about me in hushed tones. Little do they know my laser focus allows me to hear everything they say. They aren't a threat. Day 11 at the Communal Puzzle Club. The club manager unlocked the door, but already I am inside. I've been here all night doing puzzles in the dark. They threaten to ban me from the club, so in response I pick a 500-piece puzzle at random and complete it in under 45 minutes, just to show them who the real authority is. Day 12 at the Communal Puzzle Club. I have been officially banned from the Communal Puzzle Club. In a fit of rage, I grab as many pieces as I can and eat them. Make sure to thoroughly chew and swallow every single one. If I can't do them, no one can. Day 13 at the Communal Puzzle Club. It's Monday again. The club doesn't meet today. It's the perfect opportunity to break in and do as many puzzles as my heart desires without any of the club's petty drama to distract me. Day 14 at the Communal Puzzle Club. I am in jail. Because the club manager snitched to the cops like the pathetic weakling they are. This is the worst night of my entire life, and there aren't any puzzles here. Day 15 at the Communal Puzzle Club. The judge let me off with a restraining order, since I didn't actually steal anything. I show back up to Communal Puzzle Club, just to make a show of ripping the order to shreds. No piece of paper will dictate my life. Only jigsaw cut cardboard has that power. Nothing else. Day 16 at the Communal Puzzle Club. Everyone is so quiet today when I walk in. I eat some pieces in a show of force, just to remind everyone who's in charge. I comment that they taste somewhat like striking. They say it's just because Ravensburger has a new method of chemically processing their pieces. Sounds plausible. 30 minutes later, I am convulsing violently, but I beg them not to call the ambulance until I finish the puzzle I was working on. But the bastards don't listen, and I'm shipped off to the hospital, kicking and screaming. Day 17 at the Communal Puzzle Club. I spent the night in the hospital. A detective comes in and says they're investigating the manager of the Communal Puzzle Club for attempted murder, and asks what I know. I tell him honestly that I ain't no snitch and spit in his face. He says they have more than enough evidence to prosecute regardless. Day 18 at the Communal Puzzle Club. The club manager is on trial for attempted murder, and I am called as a witness. I tell the judge I ain't no snitch and spit in his face. I am held in contempt of the court. Day 19 at the Communal Puzzle Club. The defense makes a plea of justifiable self-defense, citing the restraining order that isn't even 1 week old. Somehow the judge buys that flimsy defense. I mean, this is the same judge who didn't even recognize me from that same case, despite being the same judge. I think the poor old man has dementia, so I make a motion for a mistrial. It gets shot down because the system is corrupt. Day 20 at the Communal Puzzle Club. The judge says I should get jail time, but he decided I should be in a mental facility instead. I don't know why he would think that. I've been nothing but sane my entire life. God forbid a woman have hobbies. Day 1 in the psych ward. They have puzzles in here. This is amazing. Day 2 in the psych ward. All the puzzles are missing a few pieces. This is unacceptable. I'm going to go insane. Day 3 in the psych ward. I have been informed that they do not use the word insane in here, so I take back my previous statement. Day 4 in the psych ward. I need to find those missing pieces. I need to find them. I need to find them. I have been questioning everybody, the nurses, the doctors, all of the patients, all of the miscellaneous hospital staff, but nobody knows anything. This is hopeless. I will never be able to overcome this trauma. My life is over. Day 5 in the psych ward. It's so boring in here. Without complete puzzles. There's nothing to do except watch TV, but the only channel they get is the local news. I begrudgingly watch out of nothing, but all-encompassing anyway. But one of the stories is about the communal puzzle club, and suddenly I'm overcome with nostalgia. Turns out there was a series of alleged poisonings attributed to that location. Strychnine was found in 3 people so far, one of whom was myself, but the others didn't survive. This confirms my suspicion that I am in fact the chosen one. Day 6 in the psych ward. With a renewed sense of purpose, I will attempt to convince the doctors of my quote-unquote sanity. But I also came to the realization that they don't care about sanity, they only care about sedation. They want to suppress my passion, eradicate my truth, condition me to fall in line with the rest of the sane people. With that knowledge, I was able to tell them everything they wanted to hear. I acted polite, pretended I was cured. I even feigned complete disinterest in puzzles. It made my stomach boil, but I did it. I convinced them, and just like that, I was free. Day 28 at the communal puzzle club. I don't know why everyone was so surprised to see me again. It's only natural that I'd come finish what I started. Day 29 at the Communal Puzzle Club. The Communal Puzzle Club has been disbanded since the club manager has been arrested, and the whole place is swarming with cops. I watched as they hauled off a bunch of expensive-looking printers and like a bajillion reams of paper and loaded them onto a big police truck. Apparently, the Communal Puzzle Club was just a front for document forgery and counterfeit cash, and I had been inadvertently sabotaging them this entire time, which is sad, because I support both of those things. But it also explains why they meet 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and why they had their own building despite being a no-profit model, and why I was the only one who seemed to actually care about puzzles. Everyone else was too busy making fake passports to care. In hindsight, I always knew they were all a bunch of casuals, but I didn't mind because they had some excellent puzzles. I asked one of the officers if I could at least have the puzzles, but they said they were already taken and locked away in the evidence room. The thought sickens me. All those puzzles, gathering dust, never to be assembled again. Or maybe the pigs just took them for themselves, so they could have all the puzzles they want, while the rest of us ordinary law-abiding citizens have nothing to do except die of boredom. The moral of the story is that we can never have nice things because of the fucking pigs. Fuck the police. All right, my students. I think that is enough of the Tumblr fake stories for today. If you hunger and thirst for more, I suppose you can always brave going on tumblr.com yourself, but I think that's as many as I have time, possibly more than I even have time for in this video. How long will this video be? Let's find out. It's hard to stop once I start going because I'm like, but what if there's a better one? What if I haven't read all of the good ones? But at some point I need to cut myself off, even though there were so many responses. Big thank you to everyone who took the time to provide me with some lovely entertainment this week, and by extension provide all of you with some lovely entertainment this week. And thank you for watching this video. That's all. That's the video. Good night.